I know what you're thinking. A 120 horsepower front-wheel drive city car isn't really an Evo sort of car. But this is the Audi A1. It's a car that's been carried to us on a wave of hype, a car that wants to knock the Mini into the middle of next week. But in order for it to do that, and the Mini, don't forget, is a really good little car, acting cool and looking good really isn't enough. It needs to have substance too. So the question we want to answer is, what sort of car is the A1? Is it an urban, sophisticate little trendy thing like the Mini? Or is it a proper little hot hatch you can hurl around like the Mini? It's very difficult to get an angle on this, because what you forget with the Mini is, although there's 1,000,001 of them out there and the world and his wife has one, it's still a cracking little car to drive. And if the A1 can nail that, if it can do that combination of things in the same way, it could be a really good little car. Is the A1 actually a cool car? It's a tricky one, this. I'm not particularly convinced that it is. I certainly don't think it's got the Mini's longevity. I think at the moment there's enough goodwill behind it that people will think it's a cool thing to have for the next year or so. Beyond that, I'm not so sure. And certainly sitting in it, there's not a great feeling that you're sitting in anything particularly playful or exciting. The interior quality, at least, is brilliant. I mean, it's just fabulous. There is no other premium car, not even the Mini, that's as well built as this. But for the tricky question of making it feel good and be lively and stuff, then it's not particularly. It's much more of a sophisticated car than an exciting one. Right, it's taken us pretty much all day to find a decent bit of road, but we've finally found one. It's in the trees, but it does at least have some bends on it, which are a rare commodity in this part of Germany by the looks of it. So we're going to go and have a drive up and down in the A1, see what we think of it, see how it handles. Yeah, let's just dwelling on the engine a second. It hasn't got a bad amount of acceleration, all things considered. It's only 120 horsepower, and it pulls reasonably well, you know, 110, 120, 130 kilometers an hour. So it does all right, because it hasn't got much weight to shift, but it's not a sharp little hot hatch in the manner of the Mini, and it doesn't flow down the road as well as a standard Mini Cooper does. Put a Mini Cooper on 15s and it's really quite something. This doesn't quite have that pizzazz to it, and I think it's the steering and front end which has got this very polished, sophisticated feel rather than a particularly sharp and edgy feel that is the problem here. I think the A1 is exactly the sort of car that Audi want it to be. Chic, cool, trendy, yeah, all those things, but it's those things that make it suited for urbanites, for people living around town. Unfortunately, it's not for you and me. It just doesn't have the exuberance and excitement that you want from a car like this, and that to me is a shame.